Would you like? Okay. I didn't see where everyone was. Sorry. What just happened? So, are we all going to the challenge stage, or are we staying here? Okay. More wants everyone to go to challenge stage. You can go. I'll go in challenge stage. Permission to come here. A request.
Well, this is so unorganized, trying to get these people together.
Are you from? Okay, I don't matter. Are you from? Hello. Okay.
One person going to the other place, the other person go to the other place.
Okay, perfect. Everyone is here.
Yo, alright, let's go.
Yeah. What is the discussion about? So I can start the stage.
It's about homosexuality. It's whether it's normal or not.
Yeah. Okay. So title could be "Is homosexuality normal?"
Normal
Yeah, sure.
or natural was
Normal.
the original. Yeah.
Normal was what we wanted though, so just put normal.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm okay with either one.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So you know, I am live.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I'm recording as well, by the way. Is that fine? So.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you be able to if I am?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Also, we're still sticking with the 3-minute intro.
Whatever. You're supposed to talk first because you're the one arguing for why it is normal, and then I'll respond.
Okay, I can do that. Do we want to wait for like everyone to join because people are
sure.
joining?
Give me a second, by the way. I'll be back in a second. That actually works perfectly fine for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Julio. Hello, everyone. More waiting.
There are a lot of people. So.
Yeah, 20.
I think that's everyone. Yeah.
This debate brought to you by yours truly.
We are debating if homosexuality is normal.
Alright, I'm back.
And they are recording. And I hope this is a good, fair fight. Clean. No low shots, okay?
Obviously, yeah, of course.
Okay. And you said you wanted me to start? You ready?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll start the timer.
Okay. Homosexuality is natural, normal, and not a mental disorder. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association asked members of the APS convention to vote on whether they believed homosexuality to be a mental disorder. 5,854 psychiatrists voted to remove homosexuality from the DSM. 3,810 voted to retain it. It wasn't until 1987 homosexuality was completely removed from the DSM. Many people claim the change in how we understand homosexuality now is that of a conspiracy. The queer cabal scared organizations into adopting their agenda. Our current understanding is not that occurred from an opinion. It has not occurred from an opinion, but the lack of evidence in homosexuality being a mental disorder. We have almost a century's worth of data pointing to homosexuality being a natural and normal experience of not only human beings, but other species. Medical associations all around the world agree homosexuality is a normal counterpart to homosexuality. Studies have found no evidence that homosexuality itself causes negative psychological effects. Research suggests that sexual orientation is likely influenced by a combination of genetic, hormonal, and environmental factors. This is important to note that while homosexuality is not pathological, social stigma and prejudice against gay individuals can lead to mental health issues like anxiety, depression, and suicidality. While some individuals may experience distress related to their sexual orientation, this is a matter of individual experience. Well-being is not well-being. It's not reflected by the orientation itself. Evolutionarily, homosexuality makes sense. As a social species, having relationships between males would encourage alliances and allow low-status males to reposition themselves in the group hierarchy, increasing their reproductive success. From Mesopotamia till now, we find documented evidence that homosexuality has been a part of the human experience. In the 1950s to early 1970s, therapists offered conversion therapy in attempts to cure male homosexuality. This typically involved showing patients pictures of naked men, not women, naked men, while giving them...
If you would like to extend the time...
I'm fine.
Okay,
perfect. We can continue talking. Okay. No, it's all good.
In the 50s to early 70s, therapists offered conversion therapy in attempts to cure male homosexuality. This typically involved showing patients pictures of naked men while giving them electric shocks or drugs to make them vomit. Then, once they could no longer bear it, showing them pictures of naked women or sending them out on a mock date with a young nurse. In extreme cases, lobotomies and castrations were utilized. Needless to say, these cruel and deranged methods proved entirely ineffective. There is no scientific basis or clinical evidence to support the usage of psychological or surgical interventions to change someone's sexual orientation. In conclusion, people don't choose who they are attracted to, and even with the social stigma pushing against them, there are still people who are attracted to the same gender. I get my time.
All right. So number one, the big takeaway, there was a misinformation, and I know it might not have been intentional, but number one, the vote system that you were talking about, so this is my statement. I'm criticizing what you said, and I'm also going to make a position for myself. So this debate hasn't started dialogue yet. The Board of Trustees in 1973, I believe, there was a vote, and it was taken. It was a vote to give the Board of Trustees the final say. Actually, homosexuality didn't drop out of the DSM because there wasn't a 5th edition back then. So the DSM 1, 2, 3, whatever. It didn't drop out because of science. It didn't drop off because of psychiatry. It dropped off because of gay activists. And I do have a source for that, and it's all there. So this is not even for disputation. And it's a pro or neutral source for homosexuality. And it actually, in fact, probably considers homosexuality to not be a disorder. Because clearly that's what people think is the consensus nowadays, but it's actually not true. And on top of that, it was 58% of psychiatrists in 1973 who voted for the Board of Trustees to have the final say. So an additional 42% didn't actually want the Board of Trustees to have the say. So that would have been so I would assume that homosexuality would still remain within the DSM, or the psychiatrists themselves are the ones who get to make the decision. But it was homosexuality was dropped because of gay activists. Okay, now I'm going to make my case for why homosexuality is a disorder. Homosexuality is inherently dysfunctional. You cannot have a child in regular means. The unconscious experience of being attracted to a man, especially when it dwells in your mind, and that's what you're attracted to, and that's what you're only attracted to, you're not going to have sex with a woman, and having sex with a woman is essential in order to reproduce. Now, you're going to say, well, what about sperm banks? I could just, put my sperm in a cup and then give it to a woman, and now she's pregnant. Sure, you can, but that doesn't change what the innate, inherent dysfunctionality of homosexuality is. It doesn't change that. If I have poor vision and I wear glasses, that doesn't change the fact that I still have poor vision. If I have issue being able to sense myself getting too full, the stretches in my stomach, right? But I have a machine that tells me because of AI that I'm eating too much. That doesn't change the fact that my stomach still has an issue. The same way how it doesn't change the fact that homosexuality is still inherently dysfunctional. On top of that, homosexuality is strongly correlated with pedophilia. And no, I am not exaggerating. There is a strong correlation with homosexuality and pedophilia, and I do have the sources, and I also have graphs which are made by a professional psychiatrist in the 21st century. So this is not old stuff. It's also associated with fetishistic disorder, which is a recognized paraphilia. Pedophilia is a recognized paraphilia. All of these things are strongly correlated with homosexuality. On top of that, homosexuals experience depression and trauma and sexual abuse growing up, and that has a correlation with being a homosexual. In fact, there was tests where the variable of social stigma was taken out to the best of abilities. It's very hard to do that, I'll be fair, but there was still evidence to suggest that homosexuals inherently have distress and issues in their day-to-day life. It's just a fact, okay? And I think that should be enough for now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that was a lot. I also gave you a lot. Your first point, my source on most of these things, I gave my source to Rhino like you asked me to, and my source on most of these, and what I pretty much repeated from verbatim, was of the what are they called, the PMC?
The PUB you mean, right?
Nope, the PMC.
PMC.
Yep.
Yeah, PMC. Sorry, I'm actually dumb. Yeah, the PMC.
Yes.
I was thought. Yeah. Okay, I have the same sources. I have the PMC sources as well.
I wanted to ask you what makes something a mental illness, or
when it's dysfunctional.
Yeah. Okay. So
homosexuality is inherently dysfunctional.
Inherently dysfunctional.
100%.
In what way?
Because it leads you to not be able to reproduce, or it makes it harder. We can't hear you.
Can you?
No.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, now we can.
Oh, okay. My bad. I'm asking if reproduction is the only thing that matters when it comes to human life and flourishing.
Well, doesn't that kind of answer itself?
No, I need you to answer.
If humans don't reproduce, how do we flourish?
There's plenty of people that live lives where they have not reproduced and they still
but
flourish.
if humanity as a whole did not reproduce, how would we flourish?
We're not talking about humanity as a whole. We're talking about individuals that have same-sex or gender relations, which isn't
same-sex. We have to say same-sex, not gender.
Okay, same-sex.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't change the fact that it's still on an individual level has limiting effects on that person.
Just because you can't reproduce doesn't mean you're not having a flourishing life. Just because you aren't reproducing doesn't mean you can't provide for society or help those who are reproducing. Remember the saying, it takes a village to raise a child?
Okay. All right. So if I have bad eyesight, which I thankfully don't, and I needed to wear glasses, does that not change the fact that I still have bad eyesight?
No, that does not mean you have good eyesight because...
Yeah, so inherently and intrinsically, whatever big word you want to use, I don't have good eyesight and it's limiting me. But thanks to human intellect, which we use our conscious with, we can figure something out through it. We can compensate, right? Same way how homosexuals can compensate. Homosexuals, we're talking about the attraction here, right? Straight men could theoretically have homosexual sex. We're talking from a mental perspective, being attracted to men. Inherently, it limits you. It makes reproduction harder. That's a dysfunction.
Do you think homosexual men can have sex with women?
No, they can, but that's a choice because they thought, using human intellect here, this is my whole point, hey, you know what? I can't have kids because I can't have sex with a woman because I'm a homosexual. And if I'm a homosexual, then the only way I could get kids is impregnate a woman. How am I going to impregnate a woman? I might choose to actually go sleep with a woman, or I might choose to give her some of my sperm. Yeah,
well, you already said
that's a compensation.
There's other ways science has allowed them to reproduce, right?
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to talk about that stuff.
Is it because it goes against what you're saying that they can't reproduce?
No, because
we have our current state of affairs. They can reproduce.
What are you talking about?
Because of science.
Because of science.
Without having to have sex.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant by giving sperm.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that doesn't change the actual unconscious. That doesn't change the attraction.
That doesn't. So your argument is like it's bad and wrong because they can't.
No, whoa. Slow down.
All right, okay.
The middle of the debate is homosexuality normal? We're talking from a medical point of view. This is not a moral conversation. We're not saying wrong or right or anything in between. We're talking about biology. Okay, so let's stick to that. Yeah, we're not talking about
your arguments up until now were about how homosexuality is wrong.
No, it wasn't. I did. I never even used those words a single time.
Don't you think saying because it's their reproductive dead ends, that's why it's a mental illness? Don't you think that's you're showing harm right there, saying it's bad, right? If the whole conversation
Okay.
Wait. Just give me a second. If the whole conversation is if it's normal, well, look around you. If it's naturally occurring right now, I would say it's pretty normal.
You know, pedophiles are pretty around as well.
But we're not talking about bad or good, right? We're just talking about if it's normal or if it's around.
And being a pedophile is definitely not normal, and that's by scientific.
It's not typical, and it's not good, but it's...
No. You want to use PMC, every single medical source you will find 100 years now, 100 years back, and now. By the way, let me get the definition of pedophile straight. I'm not talking about being attracted to minors that are like 14, 15. That's not the medical definition of pedophile. The medical definition of pedophilia is being attracted to a prepubescent child. If you're attracted and you prefer prepubescent children, you definitely have something wrong going on in your head. Why?
Why are we talking about pedophilia?
Because I'm trying to explain to you why not being able to why not being able to reproduce is dysfunctional. The same way how basically any other pedophilia is pedophiles can reproduce, but we're talking about the inherent.
Men can reproduce.
attraction and what it symbolizes. Inherent homosexual attraction does not signify reproduction at all.
We're talking about if
just a second.
Homosexuality is normal.
Yeah, just a second. We are talking about normal. Can we please get a definition of normal before anything else?
Normal means having a sexual attraction that is not dysfunctional.
No, a definition of normal, not of normal sexual.
What type of question? That's a Jordan Peterson type of question. What is normal? Everybody knows what normal means. I'm not going to answer these.
No, I mean we are in a debate, and that's the old part of the debate, whether it's normal or not.
Listen. Let me tell you something. Are you debating me, or am I debating? Debating Shai?
I am the moderator of your debate, and your debate is on normality. We should at least define what the term you're using.
Being normal in this context, in general, if you want just the raw definition of normal, being normal is something that is typical. What else? How else am I supposed to define it? It's something that doesn't have any negative consequence on your life. It's typical. It's healthy. It's beneficial. That's normal.
Cancer is normal.
Cancer is not normal. Cancer occurs, but that doesn't make it normal. The issue here is you could say cancer can naturally occur, but that doesn't make that doesn't make cancer normal. Let me get a definition here. Wait, you asked for a question. Let me give you a definition.
I would say.
So you can completely understand. Wait. I'll give you as long as you like. I'll let you talk in the start as much as you like. Let me tell you something. There's a difference between average and normal and things that occur and things that are intrinsically normal. For example, if you go to America and there's a bunch of people who are fat, that doesn't make being fat normal. It makes it an average. There's a difference between normal and average. Is being that fat typical? Of course it's not. Is it an average in America? Yeah, but it's not normal. Normal has to be within the lines of being healthy and being what a human is supposed to be. That's what normal means.
I think I don't agree with that definition. You're shoehorning a bunch of things in it to justify your position more. I would have agreed with conforming to a standard using typical or expected, right? Usually typical or expected. I agree to that kind of definition. But you're shoehorning a bunch of things in there.
What's the percentage of homosexuality? What's the percentage of homosexuality among the population, Western population? What's the percentage?
I would say the second half of the definition, under the second half, it's still normal, usual, typical, or expected, right?
That's not medical. That's what
I would say human beings, at this point, we can just expect that they're to be gay people, because we can see them since Mesopotamia. Just because Mesopotamians had sex with each other doesn't mean that being homosexual is normal. Well, not only Mesopotamians, but there's people who killed and massacred babies and cut their heads off and boiled their blood and drank it. Yeah, but we're not talking about good or bad. We're just talking about if something exists. Yeah, we're not talking about good or bad, but that's clearly mentally ill. Or we're talking about something exists. I think it's a pretty normal experience. It's just another. It's pretty normal. Wait. It's just a pretty normal being gay is a normal experience for some human beings, right? Some people just are gay, That just happens sometimes. Yeah, and some people are just pedophiles. But we're not talking about if it's a good or a bad thing necessarily. We're just talking about if it exists. I never said being a pedophile is good or bad. Yeah, that's the point. You're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're not even hearing what I'm saying. Your part of your argument is trying to shoehorn ethics into if it exists or not. No, I never mentioned any. Can you tell me one time I mentioned anything about ethics just once? Are you not making ethical arguments by saying when did I ever make ethical arguments? By saying that they're reproductive dead ends, by saying that they're mentally ill, that they how is that ethical? Because it's ethically good to continue the bloodline of humanity, so we don't. I never mentioned anything about. Are you serious right now? You're trying to allude to pedophilia every single time I bring up. You're saying pedophilia is bad right now, and then you also said homosexuals and pedophiles. I never ever said pedophilia was good or bad. Not once. Is pedophilia bad? I'm not going to answer. It's irrelevant. Is it bad? It's irrelevant to the conversation.
irrelevant to the conversation.
Well, true. Then why do you keep on bringing up pedophilia, bro?
Because it's a mental illness and it's strongly correlated with homosexuals.
It's not actually strongly correlated with homosexuality.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The
Homosexuality is the attraction.
Okay, can I actually? You've just been talking the whole time. Can I respond?
You said so much, but okay.
Yeah, you ask me questions, I respond. You say I'm making an ethical argument, I tell you I'm not, and then you keep on pushing it. Number one, I've never mentioned anything about good or bad a single time. There was no ethical arguments whatsoever. Okay, I am trying to make a correlation between pedophilia and homosexuality because it exists. Pedophiles are twice as likely to be, well, I don't know how to phrase this without sounding misleading, but say the regular homosexual, according to the study, 1 in 20 men are homosexual. In pedophiles, 1 in 11 men are homosexual. And in fact, when you look at graphs of pedophilic attraction between heterosexual pedophiles and homosexual pedophiles, you actually come to realize that homosexual pedophiles are usually more of an exclusive variant of heterosexual pedophiles. They prefer children a lot more than they prefer either pubescents or adults, a lot more exclusively than heterosexual pedophiles do. Clearly, also there's other lists of neurological issues, which is a very common way, is by measuring left-handedness. Strongly correlated with neurodevelopment issues when you're growing up. Guess what? Homosexuals have higher left-handed rates, especially in women, than heterosexuals.
What are we even talking about?
We're talking about mental illness.
You're saying left-handed people are not mentally ill? What are we talking about?
No, I didn't. I said
so like the whole concept.
You just straw man everything I just said.
No. The problem here is that you're arguing, you're like trying to make a point about them being mentally ill. But what would them being mentally ill even do to your argument?
Yeah, mental illness is normal.
What?
Yep. It's a common thing. Like a lot of people are mentally ill. It's just a normal thing that happens sometimes.
Are you even like?
It's natural. That's for sure.
That's you're losing it, man.
Yeah, I'm losing it for sure. So I just would like to push back on the misinfo that you just pushed out.
I didn't
a lot of the studies that people like you want to wait. I let you talk. A lot of the studies that people want to point out when it comes to homosexuality being like the majority of homosexuals being pedophiles and whatnot, a lot of that is misinfo because not necessarily the case. When the attraction to children is more of a dominating thing, is more of a controlling aspect than being attracted to the same sex. Like,
that's not true, actually. You want to know why?
Okay. If we talk about
institutions of health.
Okay, if we talk about subjects like this, would you both mind giving the sources in the chat?
Yeah, no problem, man. What do you want? What source do you want? You want the graphs and stuff? Share us.
Are like all the are all the priests that like did a little boys? Are they all gay?
They probably are, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
What's that question have to do with anything with the conversation? Yo, silent. This guy's silent in the chat, bro. Keep your mouth shut. This conversation's not for you. We've had this planned a week ahead. You're not him, bro.
Oh my goodness. If you'd like to post things on the side, go for it.
I did. I don't know how to pin it though, so these guys are just gonna raid. Yo, moderator, can you shut the chat off? Can we have the chat towards the end and then we can answer people?
I'm okay with chat.
But wait, why is what's the problem with chat? That they're
Why do you have to chat?
Because when I link something, people are just talking, so it's great to have my information just there, or it's just an ability to pin it or something.
I mean, I'll just ping it for Shy Doomer. It's not really.
I was the one who sent it, so can you pin it for me as well?
I mean, it is only useful for Shy Doomer and like you're debating Shy Doomer.
Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't really. I'm not gonna. I'd rather like attack arguments instead of like attack sources. Like, I really don't care if like what he says is true or false.
I'm glad you don't. Thank you.
Like, I don't care. No, I do care what if you say is true or false. I don't care about like your sources or anything like that necessarily, right?
Trust me, you
So
can
like,
take my word. You can
we're
take
talking,
my word.
we're specifically like we're in the weeds right now.
Okay.
The discussion is homosexuality normal, right? Let's try to stay on that. You've been going all over the place about like dead ends of birth and all these other things, right?
You asked me why I think it's dysfunctional, and I explained to you why it is.
That's not a definition of normal that is anywhere in like that I can find. Dysfunctionality doesn't partake within normality or even natural occurring things, right?
Okay, do you listen? Can I talk? You kind of filibuster a bit. I'm not trying to be rude. I know you don't mean it, but I just want to talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I explained to you why I believe it's dysfunctional, and it's because homosexuals can't reproduce. Okay? That's my reason why it's dysfunctional, and that's my reason why it's abnormal. Cool?
Yeah, but that's not just because something is dysfunctional doesn't mean it's like not a normal occurring thing.
You do real normal, bro. Anything can be normally occurring with that definition. Yeah, doesn't. That's not what I'm arguing.
Well, then you should have like made the discussion about like is it pathological or is
yes,
it
that was the whole point by norm. Yeah, no, it's not about bad.
Okay,
it's mental. I told you it's a mental illness because it's dysfunctional. That's the point. I've said that a million times.
Well, you said the debate discussion is if it's normal or natural. Like if you look at
I literally made a distinction between natural and normal for this exact reason.
Well, it should have been is homosexuality.
Can we just debate honestly and actually attack what I'm presenting?
Okay.
You know what I'm presenting now. If you agree with me, wait, moderator, bro, please, wait, respectfully, I'm talking. Respectfully, you've just been attacking me. I have just as much. I know you favor her argument, but can you be quiet for a second? All right? Number one, I've already explained to you these ideas. If you agree it's dysfunctional, we can end the debate here. We'll just end the debate. You agree with me, I won.
No, I don't think it's dysfunctional.
Okay, then let's argue about it being dysfunctional then.
Okay, so we're going to argue if it's like pathological or dysfunctional?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I think that should have been the discussion the whole time, but...
That's what I identified way before, but you want to play it out like this because you're kind of being dishonest, but hey, you know what? There's nothing I can do about that.
You were literally the one that got the word, the debate. So I'm sorry that like
we had a conversation before this debate on another call last week, and I literally said this.
And I let you decide the title of the debate, and I made
a differentiation on it.
Title.
What I meant by normal, and that's why I differentiated from natural. Can we continue? I don't want to do this.
Okay. Well, I would just have to repeat what I said already. In my intro is that homosexuality in itself is not pathological. There are outside factors that lead to people having mental disorders like anxiety, depression, and suicidality. But once those things are alleviated, the depression rates and suicide rates lower. We also see this in other groups of people that are part of the LGBTQ.
Yeah, can you tell me why they still innately have higher depression than the rest of the world?
Because we live in a society that's like really shitty to them still.
No, there's been a study where that variable was taken out of place, and they've still had higher rates of sexual abuse and depression.
How do you take that like you're asking people how they feel in a society in a world that demonizes them? How do you remove that variable?
All right, argue with the study. Don't argue with me. I'm gonna send you the study.
No, I'm just asking you, how can you possibly remove that variable, right?
I am. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Did we just like find some queers in the nether sphere and they actually like have a taste in life?
So many mental disorders are stigmatized, yet they still figured out whether they actually have problems in their emotions and their day-to-day life and mental health, or whether it was from social stigma. Right? If they could do that with any other disorder, I'm sure they could do that quite fine with homosexuality.
Yeah, I think living in a country or in a world that majority says you're not, people like you saying that you're not normal, you're not natural, you're mentally unwell, and it like claiming like it's a negative thing that you exist the way that you exist is going to lead to some negative outcomes for that person's mental health. Like it's pretty simple, 1-to-1. The through line is clear as day.
Okay. I'm gonna have to bring this example up. I won't even use pedophile this time. If I went to a paraphilic, okay, any paraphilic who enjoys spying on people, forgot the name of that one. The one who likes showing his private parts in front of people, that's another paraphilia. Someone who's attracted to dogs and cats, zoophilia. Somebody who has fetishistic disorder, he's attracted to objects. All these are mental disorders. They're recognized as mental disorders. None of them, either they can't reproduce, or they have some sort of sadistic, disgusting, sort of they just have a negative outview. They're out there to harm. That's what it is. If you're sadistic, that literally means you're out there to harm people, right? So these are what paraphilias are. You either can't reproduce, or you're either in that realm. It's an unnatural. It's not a normal. It's atypical. That's what a paraphilia is. Okay. So if I went to a pedophile and I said, not to a specific pedophile, but if I said generally that pedophiles are not normal, they have a mental illness, I'm going to be upsetting some pedophiles, even the ones who haven't hurt any children. That doesn't make my statement untrue.
Do you think there might be a little bit of, like, I thought you said you weren't going to pedophilia, but then, okay. Do you think
it's paraphilias as a whole? Pedophilia is just the most commonly known one.
Do you think there might be a little bit of a difference between two consenting adults of the same sex and fucking children, or having sex with animals?
That's a moral discussion. We're not talking about that.
No. It's not a moral discussion. Like, what's the difference between those things? Can you tell me the difference between those things? I can.
That's a moral question.
The answer is consent, right? Because
is the age of consent a social construct? Why is it 18? Who got to rule that? Because your consent argument's garbage. We can get into this moral argument all that because they can't consent. That's not a biological argument. That's a moral argument. Stop bringing morals into this. Yes,
stop making comparisons to adults that are consenting to have sex with each other to fucking animals and children, you weirdo.
How am I a weirdo?
Because you keep wanting to talk about diddling kids, and what is that like?
Why is it?
What do you think the age of consent?
Is morality subjective?
What do you think the age of consent should be? If you disagree with the standard of the argument,
that's a moral question. What I think about the age of consent.
Because we're not talking about pathological or morality. We're not talking about
we're talking about mental illness. Can we stay on topic?
Well, you're the one talking about morally bad things, but then when I point out...
That's your opinion. It's your opinion that pedophilia is morally bad.
Is that not your opinion? Do you not agree?
Is morality subjective?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you have no reason to think, you have no reason to be upset if I said...
No, because there's harm. We can look at these...
But that's subjective. But that's subjective. You said morality. You said morality is subjective. Hey, let me ask you something. What's your favorite color?
Wait, you're crashing out. You're chill. My subjective standard is harm, and like I want to reduce as much harm as possible. So like you saying all these are bad, spooky things that are harmful, I'm like, yeah, those things are harmful because there's lack of consent. There's like disease involved with fucking animals. Fucking children is harmful and bad and disgusting. But like when we're looking at same-sex consenting adults, the harm in comparison is not there, and that's why I keep on saying, why are you bringing this up?
Yeah, because pedophiles happen to be correlated with homosexuals. So.
By the way, the study you linked doesn't prove anything of what you...
Yes, it does, because they took a test.
I have read the whole study in between. It doesn't.
No, you didn't read the whole study because it's pretty hard to read the whole thing. Because you're misinterpreting it. You're the moderator, so can you be quiet? Why are you arguing for her? Be quiet.
The problem is...
For the love of God, can you keep your mouth shut?
You make that claim,
and you
gave us source.
No, because I'll explain. All right. You got me to do it. I'm opening my screen. I'm screen sharing. I have everything from the source. It's all documented right in front of me. You thought I wasn't ready for this? Guess what, boy? I am. So let's open up my screen right now. All right. Let's open up my screen. Let's have some absolutely cool. That's absolutely
cool. Let's do that, I guess.
All right. This is his study right here. This is an image from his study. This is the graphs. All right. This is basically saying the same thing as this. This left, so they had originally about 3,000 people taking the study. They omitted a certain amount of people because the charts were trying to figure out homosexuality and heterosexuality. So anybody who happened to be bisexual wasn't part of this. Anybody who happened to say that these graphs don't correlate his or her personal interest weren't there. I mean, his personal interest, this was only men, didn't correlate, okay? So they didn't add those. As long as the person's history is clean, if he said I don't like men or I don't like kids, wasn't added. Okay. Now it says here, this left 2,278 subjects used in the study. 1,000 heterosexual, this means to be attracted to adults. 761 heterosexual pedophiles, which means you're attracted or you prefer early pubescent children, so it's the step before pedophilia. And then 159 heterosexual pedophiles. You know what's so funny is that there was more heterosexual pedophiles than there was homosexual adult lovers. Because you guys probably don't know what this word means, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, so
why?
When we look at the graphs now, what do you mean why? They took a group of people who committed crimes, and homosexuals happen to be pedophilic more often than heterosexuals were.
Wait,
can you not see the numbers?
Definitely no. You need to go to see that. You need to go in the methodology and look at how they select people.
Listen. You're not a moderator if you're arguing for her. Can you be quiet?
I am not arguing for no one. I am.
You're the worst moderator ever. Moderators don't make arguments for the other person. Can you please be quiet?
I am not. Can
you be quiet? Can you keep your mouth shut? Or I'm not going to continue this debate because it's being unfair. Be quiet. For the love of God, keep your mouth shut.
If I gave a bad study and the moderator went through it and said this doesn't
This is not a bad study. It's right here. 2,278. Wait. Be quiet. 2,278 subjects used in the study. 1,000 of them happen to be heterosexual adult lovers. 761 happen to be heterosexual early pubescent lovers. 159 happen to be heterosexual pedophiles. Okay, there are more in the rate and ratio of the homosexuals. So look, we have 96. There was more. Shut up! Perfect. There was more pedophilic. There was more.
Okay, you cannot actually scream at a moderator to shut up. That's not how debate works. That's what happened when in a debate. So the problem here is that you are presupposing that the way they looked to find heterosexual is exactly the same as the way they try to find homosexuals. We should look at the methodology to confirm if it's correct or not.
Yo, that was not cool. You're constantly interrupting me. And you're arguing for her case. Can you be quiet? Can you let me talk? You know what the thing that pisses me off the most is everybody since the start in the chat has been against me because I've been constantly getting interrupted by a moderator who's supposed to be neutral, and he just keeps.
No, moderators aren't supposed to be neutral. Are supposed to see if people are doing something wrong and address that. If a person is doing something wrong much more than the other, automatically they're gonna take on a side in particular. And the problem with this is you are making claim based on a study, and we are going through the study, and I have said nothing that making a moral claim or helping no one. I'm just saying, okay, let's see if your arguments are valid. Let's go through the methodology, because that is what you're asking right now. That's your claim.
That's what I was gonna ask. Can we look at the link that you have right there, and can we look at the
Can I finally explain the study for one last time? There was 3,000 men originally. Ones got opted when they said that their attraction. Can you be quiet? I'm explaining.
You're explaining your take from it, but I would like to see the methodology.
I'll send the link after. Yes, I'll send the link
after
I explain.
Right now. Just send it right now, and then you can.
I will send it. I'm going to explain it, and then you can read it. Can you just give me a second? You're not giving me a moment to talk. There was originally 3,000 subjects, roughly 800, as you can see the number here, got omitted because they either said that this does not correlate with me, they were either bisexuals, and the ones who said that it did not correlate with them, they were omitted if their history doesn't show. For example, if they said they're not homosexuals and they have no interaction with boys or men, then they would have been omitted. Cool. Okay, so out of these subjects, they were randomly selected, they were all men, and they were taken from people with criminal records, people from psychiatric homes, people with doubts about their sexuality, etc. When we notice here, the ratio, it's extremely overwhelming the amount of pedophiles are in the homosexual group. In fact, there was more pedophiles than adult lovers. Okay? You can now, I'll send the link, it's all there. Why would I lie about this?
I don't think you're lying, but I would like to point out what you just said. They are specifically looking at people that have been convicted of crimes or put into mental hospitals, right? I don't think that's a good poll to prove like the majority of a population is a thing, because you're literally choosing criminals, like you're choosing like a portion of a portion of a portion at this point, right? I don't think that proves what you think it does.
You know what's so funny? You know what's so funny is that people. You know what's so funny is that people that are on your side, their way of arguing, and the people in the comments are by calling me a child toucher and calling me crazy because I disagree with everything that everybody thinks is normal, and I'm here to challenge that narrative, and I'm getting called crazy and getting called this and that for it. And when I have a temper, I'm talking to them mostly, not you. And when I have a temper, it's because this moderator is being extremely unbiased, and I just expose them after I explain this whole thing. And on top of that, there's another. Stop talking. And then on top of that, there's another thing where if you want another source, I can show it right now, which clearly, directly talks about the ratios of homosexual pedophiles versus homosexuals in general population. I can get that up too. This is my introspection of this, and now you will get something that's directly written too. And I've showed you the graphs, which we can get more into detail about the strong homosexual and pedophilic correlation. Now, when you make the argument that, well, this is from people who are criminals, yeah, so are the heterosexuals criminals. So can you tell me why the same ratio is not found in heterosexuals?
Because they literally pulled, in this study, they literally pulled people that were questioning their sexuality that were criminals.
Yeah, so were the heterosexuals, they were criminals too.
Didn't you say that they pulled majority of them only were? Didn't you say like they only pulled people that like were questioning their sexuality?
That was a sum, and the other sum was people who were sent because they have crimes and they were taken out as a test. There's people, most of them happen to commit crimes against men, crimes against boys, crimes against girls, crimes against older. It was taken on all variables. There was no specific selection whatsoever, and it's all there, and it's there for you to read it.
Okay.
I
have read the methodology, and in the methodology, it says that majority of the people that were incriminated had like actual sexual crimes, but also in the people that were asked to come that didn't commit any crime, there were people that were like speaking if they had a problem with that. So completely people that were not in any sort of criminal arrangement.
Okay.
The problem is, why would you think that, what is the reason why a lot more straight people decided to come forward to the fact that they are straight, and a lot less gay people decided to come forward to say that they're gay?
This makes absolutely no sense at all.
Yes, it does, because in society...
Because you're acting like the only variable. Can you let her argue? I mean, whatever they are, like, I'm not trying to be rude. Can you let them argue for a second? Like, can you just let them argue for their own case? Can you stop for a second? I've explained 100 times that the people who came forward volunteered, and those people could have been anything. They could have also been heterosexual pedophiles or heterosexual hebephiles as well, but they didn't. Right? At least not the same amount of ratio. And most people would not admit to pedophilia. Why would you admit to pedophilia? You would come out and you have more reason to not and be like, you know what, guys? I'm a homosexual pedophile. These ain't my words. Don't clip me. I'm giving an example. If this is the case, right, your argument falls flat right below the ground, bro. So can you just stop for a second and let them argue? I don't want to hear your voice another time, please.
I just I didn't want to argue, so perfect.
Yeah, I appreciate you pointing these things out and trying to make sure like the audience knows at least, because I'm not putting the work into. I honestly can't with my setup right now look at the links. So I appreciate what you're doing, but like also we said it was gonna be an hour and it's already been an hour. I'm okay with going for like another 15, 20 minutes, but then I have to go because I have other things I have to do on my stream. Okay.
That's okay.
So my whole thing is, once again, what does this have to do with if it's mental illness or not?
Do you want sources about their depression as well?
Yeah, the American Health Association, the World Health Association has done multiple studies on this, and it seems more like the outcome of mental health and like the lack of mental health in these communities is because of outside forces, not because of their sexuality itself. They're being treated like shit. They're being labeled pedophiles and groomers, like how you're doing in this conversation. And that leads to, like, if society deems like you're gross and you're unwanted, of course you're gonna have like a bad mental outcome, right? And we find that in studies where like people have acceptance in their life and they have less negative outcomes, like less bigotry, and a few people that like actually do treat them and see them as like a human being, their suicidal rates are decreased and their happiness is increased, right?
Should we do this? Should we do the same for pedophiles? I'm not talking about the harm concept or anything like that.
Are we talking about pedophiles again? Just respond to what I'm saying.
I'm asking because you say if we say, hey, look, you're normal, look, you're this and that, everything is fine, don't worry about it.
What is okay? Instead of trying to shoehorn pedophiles and LGBTQ people together, what is the inherent harm other than like they're not having babies? Because like I don't give a fuck if someone doesn't have a baby, because it's like up to that person. I don't want to try to force people to live a lifestyle they don't want to live, because of the baby thing, right? So like other than babies and pedophilia, what is the inherent harm of two adult men fucking each other?
Having sex with adult men is not correlated to this. I mean, it is correlated, but it's not sexual attraction of men. You could have sex with men and not be gay.
Let me rephrase that. What is the inherent harm of being sexually attracted to someone that's not what you want to say is pedophilia?
STDs, AIDS, and HIV.
Well, guess what? Straight people get STDs too.
Not as often. Not as often.
Not as often. That's because they don't act in as much open sex as the queer community. Because queer community is more sex positive. And
because they're promiscuous.
Those things have decreased.
Because they're promiscuous.
Yeah. Because they're more sexually active with multiple partners.
Yeah, they're more sexually active because they're more irresponsible, not because they have more freedom.
That's not irresponsible necessarily.
Yes, it is, because you have more STDs and AIDS. Of course it's irresponsible.
So, like, how's that inherent to the, like, we can all say, like, a straight person can be promiscuous, a straight person can get fucking
Yeah, they can, but we're talking about statistics.
Well, I'm asking specifically.
Hey, look. You're talking for the majority of the time. There needs to be a dialogue. I'm just listening and responding. You're asking me.
You're not answering my question.
I've answered your question. They have higher rates of STDs and AIDS. Yes, they do.
Sir, I'm talking about inherent. You can't say something else that can occur in another group. I'm saying that is inherent to homosexuality.
Okay, there's other paraphilias that don't cause that direct type of harm pedophilia does, and homosexuals are still highly correlated with it. Fetishistic disorder is an example.
So there's nothing that's inherent.
I'm talking about mental illness. I don't know what you're asking about this harm factor. I don't know what it has to do with mental illness.
Yeah, and I already said mental illness.
You're talking about a harm factor. Pedophiles just happen to be harmful. if they act upon their urges. A bunch of pedophiles aren't if they don't act upon their urges. A bunch of homosexuals, if they don't act upon their urges, don't have homosexual sex. They both would have had the same outcome, but that doesn't mean that both of them are normal. They're both mentally ill.
Do you think it's same? Do you think it's like equally bad or like equally the same if someone doesn't act on their homosexual desire?
If you don't act on your homosexual desire, you're still mentally ill, but you haven't acted on it. What do you want me to say?
Why is it a mental illness inherently?
Because you're supposed to be attracted to women, literally.
Who says?
If you're a man, that is, you're supposed to be attracted to the opposite
sex. Do you not think of like any biological advantage that men would have if they
you can make these excuses up for any mental illness. You can say this stuff for any mental illness. You're not actually talking about what.
Can't.
Yes, you can.
Because thinking like, for example, I don't think, like, for example, being anorexic, I can't make an excuse like this for anorexia. It's just inherently harmful. They have a disconnect of what their body actually is, and it leads to inherent harm because they end up starving themselves and having lack of nutrition, right? I can't think of something that, like, just because you want to fuck men as a man is going to have that same kind of inherent outcome.
Because if everybody was a homosexual, society would not exist. But I'm telling you that the product of everybody being a homosexual is a negative on society, so people would not exist.
It is an outside factor, and there's not going to be a world where everyone's homosexual. And even
there's not going to be a world where but they add to the fact that they literally are adding to the fact that humanity will not reproduce as much as it could. As much as it could.
Donors.
I'm telling you, okay, you're differentiating the act from the attraction. How many times do I have to tell you this? Bro, like, are you good?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm chilling.
You could have bad eyesight and wear glasses as a compensation for your bad eyesight. That doesn't mean you don't have bad eyesight. I'm not going to say this a 50 millionth time.
Is bad eyesight a mental illness or something?
Bad eyesight is a disability, yeah.
So being homosexual is like a disability?
Yeah, of course.
What's the definition of disability?
You're not able. What?
Not able what?
They're not able to have kids. Literally one of the most important things in life.
I would say that's if you're looking specifically at the factor of like who
of
can
attraction,
have children.
Yeah. No. Okay, you can wear glasses too. You're still doing the same thing.
Have kids even without like our scientific advancement, they could still have sex
with
a woman.
Yeah, because it just takes a little less IQ. It just takes a little less IQ, but it also makes having children harder because you might not be as intrinsically inclined to have children because you're a homosexual. So, boom.
So, like, if it's a mental illness, can it be cured?
Who knows? Not all mental illnesses are just cured like that. Who knows?
So what's the solution? If it's like, how do we fix this? If it's a mental illness,
yeah,
can it be cured? Yes or no?
Can it be cured? How am I supposed to know?
I'm asking if you believe it. Or you're saying I just don't know.
If I say I don't believe it or I do believe it, what are you gonna get from that?
If you think there's a cure or not to fixing it.
I don't think there's a cure.
Okay, so then what do we do about this?
I said I don't think. I don't know. I told you I don't know. You made me pick an answer.
So you don't know, like, you think this is like a horrible bad thing that's going on? Like it's a mental illness that people are trying to normalize and whatnot, and like people are
never used the word. I've never used the word horrible. Yes. When I ever say that was horrible or bad?
I would say that's like in my opinion, a mental illness in the way that you've been using it is like a negative thing, right?
Okay.
Like it obviously has negative outcomes, right? So, and we want to fix those negative outcomes, right?
That we weren't talking about morality.
We're not talking about semantics, and can you just listen to my full argument?
You realize that you know what you're doing right now? You know what you're doing right now? It's like, hey, let me have whom in a corner here. Let me ask him a million questions, and let me make sure he can't ask me anything else, and let me make sure. Hey guys, I'm streaming, so you see this guy that's talking to me? I'm about to school him. Can you let the guy talk for a minute, aka me? Can you let me talk and let me ask you questions perhaps instead of trying to continuously ask me what I think and then refute you a million times and then start straw manning me a million times? Can you just stop for a second? No,
I want to ask you my question. I just want to ask you my final question.
Okay, final question. Once you ask this question, you're gonna need to give me a moment to talk and ask you a question.
Okay, that's fair. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you've asked a million, so this is going to be the millionth and one. This is going to be the millionth and one, and then that's it. Can you ask the question now?
Coolio. Okay, so if you don't think that there is a cure, what do we do about this issue that you believe is an issue?
I don't know if there's a cure.
I know.
If you ask me if let's take both cases. Let's say hypotheticals. If there is no cure, I'll give you both hypotheticals so you can stop asking this dumb question with all due respect. If there is no cure, okay, there is no cure. We don't go out to harm people who haven't done anything. Even if you take it from a moral perspective that homosexuality is bad, which I'm not going to comment on. If you take that as bad, then you would just say, as long as you don't do that bad thing, then that's fine. If you say that homosexuality is not bad, then you wouldn't care if they had homosexual sex, and that's just going to be their problem in quotation, right? So if it is curable and they want to be cured, they can get cured. If they don't want to get cured, they don't have to get cured. What do you want me to say?
I know you don't think that there's a cure, right? But I
know you don't, because I don't know if there's a cure.
You said in the first part of my question.
No, you said I know you don't think there's a cure. You just said I know you don't think there's a cure. Okay.
Do you think there's a cure?
I told you I don't know.
Okay.
So can I ask you a question?
My question is no, because you haven't answered mine. What is the solution? What is your freaking solution?
I just gave you the solution. I said if there is a cure and people want to get cured who are homosexuals, they can go get cured. If there isn't a cure, then they're just going to be homosexuals, and that's the way it is.
So you don't, if there was no cure, there's nothing else you want to do about it?
Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
Then I guess you would just kind of give up and stop talking about this because there's no evidence to being able to cure homosexuality.
Okay, just because you can't cure, just because we haven't found a cure for cancer yet, doesn't mean cancer doesn't exist, does it?
How do you rewrite someone's brain?
That's what I thought.
How do you rewrite someone's brain?
I never said you could. Why are you asking me this question?
Exactly, that's what you would have to do. You'd have to make someone feel.
Yo, this Diddy guy, this guy called Diddy talking, bro, get it out of your mouth, bro. You're the biggest glazer I've seen in my life. You need to stop talking.
Why are you getting upset with Chat? Chat's been saying mean things about me too.
This guy's an absolute. He's just a fool, bro.
Why are you acting like aggro against Chat? They did nothing wrong. They just vibing.
That's irrelevant. All right, I already answered your question.
What's your question now? I promise you, I said I would answer your question.
All right. So, what are your thoughts now that you know that pedophiles are more homosexuals happen to represent pedophilia more than they represent normal adult attracted people? And also, fun fact, in the charts that I have, there's just something cool that I want you to know. If homosexuality is this exclusive variant, and it's not a deviation from the norm, then can you tell me why homosexuals happen to be a lot more attracted, not a lot, but they happen to be slightly more attracted to women than heterosexual men are to other men?
Can you repeat the first question?
Okay, so the two things is, I'm asking you what you think. What do you think?
Yeah, separate them. I don't want to answer them all together. Just
okay. I'll ask the second one, actually, because I think it's more important. Okay. What do you think? Because we talked enough about this pedophile stuff, and you have to go soon, so let's stick with this.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about this at all, but yeah.
Well, too bad. Facts are facts, right? So, anyways, the graphs that I have.
Yeah, they don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, they definitely don't care about yours. That's for sure.
True. That's why I don't use them. I don't use feelings.
Yeah. Sure. Anyways, can we get to the conversation now?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so I have the graph. I have the two graphs. Actually, in fact, let me open the graph so it's actually easier. Hold on. Let me close my stream. Reopen it. Do everything right. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. All right, hold on. Give me a minute here. All right.
I must say, while you're doing that,
I got it. No, it's here. Don't worry.
Oh, cool. I just wanted to say, I'm eating some homemade popcorn. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying your popcorn. Okay.
I am.
All right. So if you look at this graph here, let's focus on this. Forget the pedophiles. We had enough with them, right? Okay, my bad. All right, let's look here. Adult women. Homosexuals happen to be attracted to adult women above threshold levels. So what's considered below threshold, according to studies, anything at 1 or below, that's negligible. So anything at 1 or below. So heterosexual men happen to not be attracted to men whatsoever of any age group, right? But they actually do happen to be attracted to little girls for some reason, a little more than they are here. This is a little interesting.
Wait, what's going on this? What is
so
going
this
on
graph, okay,
are you saying like heterosexual men are more attracted to little girls?
Yeah, than they are to other men. Yeah, I'm literally saying that.
Well, yeah, I think that'd probably be like a social conditioning kind of thing. I believe in the I think like in some cases, more rare than not, it's like a mentally like a biological attraction thing, right? Like it's like a core thing to the brain.
Okay,
but like in most cases, it's a socially constructed attraction, right? So like if you live in a society that sexualizes or hyperfixate on like young beautiful women, you're gonna normalize that within like
that's fine.
Right.
Let's get to the study. That's fine. That's cool. That's all sunshine and rainbows. Okay, so here, over here, you notice that homosexual men happen to have an above threshold attraction, about a 2 when it peaks, to adult women. Yet heterosexual men happen to have no attraction to other men whatsoever. So if homosexuality is a specific attraction in and of itself, and it's not a deviation of the norm, can you explain to me why they still have to have some attraction?
Doesn't go to zero.
This is prepubescent girls, buddy. That's not women. Thank you.
No, I mean, doesn't go to zero.
I'm having a hard time understanding this graph. Okay, so
I told you number 1. You see 1 here? You see 1? Imaginary 1 right here? If it's below 1, it's considered to be a below threshold. I said this a million times. I'm surprised you haven't picked it up, which means the attraction is negligible. It doesn't count as anything part of the system. It's just there for whatever reason. But here, there's an above threshold attraction of women in homosexual men.
So you're saying homosexuals like women more
than heterosexuals like men? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Well, so can you explain to me?
Well, okay. So like, we live in a society.
Wait, hold on. Yo, moderator, can you shut the freaking hell up?
No, it's just that Shy has to go, so I would like to get to the point of what you think is the...
I will answer this, and then I have to go, okay? I'm sorry. I have other things I have to do. Okay, so it's really easy to answer this. So, like, whenever people live in a society, whenever men live in a society that is extremely stigmatizing, like a negative stigma against, like, men liking men, heterosexuals will always lie about liking men because they live in a society that will demonize
this graph. No. I'm not going to let you go there because you're misinterpreting the graph. This graph is not based on opinion. This graph is based on the blood flow in a penis.
What?
Yeah. Fun fact.
I don't know. Like, how are you going to, like, say any of this?
What do you mean say any of this? Because they conducted a study?
No. I mean, like, what is the point of any of this? Yeah, okay, so they found more men that aren't attracted to men than they did find gay men that aren't attracted somewhat to women. Was it like 100% they were gay, or were they maybe bi?
No, okay, so what? To better help you understand, if I told you,
and it's like
if somebody, wait.
How do you
somebody came and told you,
no, wait.
They showed them images, okay, and they had a system, right? I'm not trying to talk too much about it. It's all in the study, and they figured it out. Okay, it's called I'm gonna mispronounce it, but penal. What's the word again? I can just find it right now. Give me a second. Go here. Wait to start. This is penal responses. Okay.
I really have to go. I answered the question and then you got me with the gotcha because they had a penis pump apparently. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there for you.
Yeah. My position is like majority of people would be more like bi or pan and than not, you know. If we had a social stigma,
Yeah, well, that kind of shows.
a lot of evidence and like.
Doesn't that kind of prove
I think there
how
would definitely be people that are just straight.
But doesn't that kind of prove how abnormal?
Wait, what?
Doesn't that kind of prove how abnormal
No, and there's a social stigma that pushes against everything.
So if it's pretty hard, it's not a social stigma. They showed them images and they tested their penis.
I've already said this many times, but bro, we live in a world where like you can be beaten to death for being gay. You can be kicked out of your house.
Not in the West.
By your parents for being gay.
Not in the West. Okay, this has nothing.
Okay, literally.
What does this have anything? What is this?
Wait, it is Pride Month, and guess what? Voice actor for King of the Hill was shot and murdered because he was in a homosexual relationship in the West. So what are you fucking talking about?
I guess bad things happen sometimes, right?
Oh yeah, there's no statistic evidence showing that more bad things happen to these people specifically because they are.
This has
no negative outcome.
You're just rambling. This has nothing to do with
this is what you've been doing the whole time, and this is my outro. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Thank you for moderating. I need to go do other things. If you want to do like the voting or whatever, whatever.
Yeah. Goodbye.
All right. Bye.
Okay, so a lot of people in the audience would still like to debate with you on this topic. Would you like for?
Let me pick who I want to debate. Let me pick. No, I don't have to go. Let me see who I'd like to debate. I get to make the decision here.
Okay, that's fine. Nick wants to debate.
All right, hold on. Let me have a word here because I feel like I'm sitting on a throne. These people in the chat call me emotional because I love the rage fuel. I love the ego. I'm that guy. And you guys are just upset because I'm confident in what I say. You guys are just so upset that you're hearing something you don't like to hear. You're just here calling me immature because you just saw homosexuals and their position get absolutely, not homosexuals themselves, the position, the ideology that it's normal get absolutely destroyed. And this guy's silent, has his hand raised like a little child in the audience, thinks that I'm going to debate him even after he's been so disrespectful. And this Diddy guy, what an absolute embarrassment. Your name's Diddy for a reason. You guys are not going to debate me. If anybody wants to debate me, they would have been polite and they would have not been an absolute jerk. You're not going to get the privilege of talking. So, I'm not scared of you, buddy. I'm not scared.
Yeah, Nick has been requesting to debate with you for like a bit. So, would you like to debate?
Nick has been a pretty big, has been a pretty big jerk too. So, why should I get him in?
Okay, it's your choice. You decide.
Let me make my decision. Who's T? There's a guy with the emerald, what's it called? The emerald profile picture. That little crown.
Emerald.
The emerald crown.
Yeah, the boss clips you.
Yeah, what does he want to debate about? Wait, can you send it in the chat?
I think he wanted to ask a question.
Okay, let him ask a question in the chat.
Okay. I mean, I can bring him up and so.
Wait, hold on. I want to try to get this real guy in. He's kind of been on my side. I want to hear him out. Can you get him in?
It's a debate thing.
I want to talk to him.
Why would I bring someone that is on your side?
I want to talk. Let's do a 2v2.
And who are you gonna argue against? Like Silent and.
I'm not gonna
debate you right now if you want, sir.
What's the debate gonna be on?
Same topic.
And are you against me?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, by the way, like I kind of have to go. Like.
We can get a moderator in. Can you get Real in? He can be the moderator. Hey, give me as I request.
You can try, but
he's unbiased. Just get him in.
Just get him in.
I cannot just bring people at random. Like, are these people present?
I command you.
He has his hand up right now.
Who?
Real. He's gonna be the moderator. He's gonna be the moderator.
He's not a moderator. I'm not just gonna let any people moderate you. No. I'm sorry.
No. Why not though? Yo, Crown Boy, you good
because
with the
we are in a
moderating?
stage. Okay, if you want to do that.
What's up? Yo, why did you kick him? Yo, get him back in.
Okay, if you want want
Dude, that was
to have a,
rude. Come on.
if you want to have a discussion, you can
Yeah.
go in the servers. You're allowed to make a hub, and if
Alright,
you make a hub,
fine.
Yeah.
But aren't you leaving though? Let me ask you a question. Aren't you leaving?
yeah, I'll be leaving that. Like I'm not.
Look at these people begging. The same people that are just hating on me are begging to get in to talk to me. Yo, you guys are actually so funny. You guys are actually getting on your knees for me. Yo, chill out, bro. I don't swing that way. Bro. No, chill out.
I'll debate you.
Yeah, you
we
said
don't,
chill,
we don't
bro.
even have to have a moderator if you don't want to.
But yo, listen. I'm gonna keep it 100, bro. The real guy is he's cool. He's my buddy. Just get him in. He's gonna be an actual like unbiased
No.
debater. Like,
I don't-
get
We
him in.
cannot have you in the stage to do.
Why not though? He's gonna moderate.
Without
He's gonna moderate.
Yeah, but we need a moderator stage mode. Someone from the server who is technically allowed to do stage debates.
All right, get David Goggins in.
I don't think.
There's a guy named
He
David
is?
Goggins.
Technically,
Yeah, he's
there's
not.
moderators present. It should be okay, but
Yeah, wait, yo, Crown Boy, are you? Your mic's a little quiet, so I'm gonna hire you. Everybody, hire Crown Boy's mic up so y'all can all hear him. So.
Yeah, he is a stage moderator, but he
I'm not a
wouldn't be
stage
the moderator.
I'm a regular moderator.
You're not?
But
Okay.
As long as the
You're a
moderator's
VC
present,
moderator, not a
close-
stage mod. Okay.
Yeah, as long as a moderator like is present in the room, it's okay. The only reason why there has to be a VC moderator or somebody in the room is so they can close it down. So like if every
Okay.
moderator left, then there would be no way for this room to be closed down.
Oh yeah, of course. So
If he's
if
okay
it's
with
fine if I leave it to you.
yeah, I'll close it down for you.
Okay. Then thank you. Good night. Good night for me.
Good night. It was a really good he was really good at moderating that debate.
Okay.
I stayed and watched for a little bit. Congratulations.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, goodbye.
See ya. We don't have to have a moderator if you just want to have it back and forth.
Can you get real in just for a minute? Is that fine?
For a minute, but I'll move him back down.
Yeah, sure.
I don't
just
really
get him
know.
in. He wants a position. I'm gonna be quiet. He just wants to get a word in. Just kick him out after. It's fine. Yo, it's good.
I don't understand how this guy is arguing this. How is it a social stigma when it's measuring blood flow of the penis? If the blood flow of the penis is easily controlled by social stigma, or is there any homos after all? If being anti-homosexual was so strong that it controls blood flow of penis, which is involuntary, homos after all, bruh.
Exactly. It's a messed up world we live in, and the amount of delusion that spreads around. I'm glad there's people like you who are aware and conscious of our reality.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. All right, bro.
Right, that's good.
Alright, so.
W real. Huh? My position again?
Your position real quick.
All right. Do you want to talk first because you're the one advocating why it's normal?
Well,
So,
you're
I'll start
the one that has a positive claim, so you would be going first.
No, I'm saying it's not normal, so I don't have a positive claim.
Well, the claim that you're having though is that something is not normal, right?
That's a negative
You're
claim,
making the claim. I have to argue against that.
No, but the title is called "Is Homosexuality Normal?" You think it is, so that's the positive claim. So you talk first.
Okay, so whenever it comes to homosexuality, I think that you cannot help what you're attracted to. That is not something that you can change. That is something that is already, inside your head. If you're attracted to chicks with red hair, you're attracted to chicks with red hair. There's no changing that. If you're attracted to men, there's no changing the fact that you're attracted to men.
Okay.
So therefore, I would consider that normal. If what is happening to you is something that you cannot change, then and it's happening, worldwide. It's not something that's an outlier. I would consider that normal. I don't see how anything different would.
Okay.
How would anything be not normal about that? Can you explain this?
Okay. So did I ever say being homosexual was a choice?
No, but if it wasn't a choice, then how would it not be normal?
Being a pedophile is not a choice.
Actually, I would disagree with you. Being a
You can't
pedophile is a choice.
You can't disagree with that though. That's not because the medical science 100% undisputedly says it's not a choice.
So do you consider a pedophile someone that just likes children or acts upon it?
Just likes children.
So I disagree with that. I think that
But you can't disagree.
pedophile is someone.
No, but
Well,
what we're talking
I can disagree with your definition. Yes,
but
I can.
that's not the definition of pedophilia, though. So you're making up stuff.
Okay, give me your definition.
It's not mine. It's the definition of pedophilia.
Well, there's no such thing as the definition of anything.
Then there's no such thing as the definition of anything.
Okay, now we're getting on the same page, I guess. I mean, come on now. What is your definition of it? Just give me your definition.
The silent guy's actually such a troll. I wish I could just ban this guy. He's still begging, getting on his knees, bro. I see why this guy likes men. Anyways, I'm telling you that it's an attraction to children. It's the attraction the same way how homosexuality is the attraction.
Okay. And what quantifies something normal and not normal?
If it's dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional?
So that would mean it's not normal, yeah?
Okay. And how is homosexuality dysfunctional?
You can't have kids.
Okay. So a woman that's not able to have kids is not normal and dysfunctional?
In that sense, yeah.
So you think that the numerous amount of women that are not able to have kids, are not normal?
100%.
That is insane.
That's an infertile. How's that insane? That's infertile. You're infertile. How's that insane?
No, because
Are you talking about menopause?
I'm talking about
menopause,
all different.
Menopause.
You mean
is that what you're
menopause?
talking? Yeah,
but it's not just menopause. But yes,
menopause
is one of them.
Menopause is normal and natural. There's no way of avoiding it. It happens to all women.
Well, I'm saying not just menopause. There's several different ways that a woman cannot have children.
Yeah, that would mean she's infertile, and that would mean that she has a disorder. Yes. How's that crazy? Are you good?
Well, hold on. So I guess my understanding of normal is different. So like if somebody walked into your house and punched you in the face every single day for 2 months.
This is a moral argument.
Hold on one second. No, it's not. No, it's not. You don't even know where it's going. You don't even know where it's going, okay? If somebody walked in your house and punched you in the face, for let's say 3 months straight. The first 10 times it happened, that would be not normal. After that becomes normal.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, because it's quantity of times that it happens. If something's an outlier, it's not normal. If something stops becoming an outlier and it becomes something quote-unquote, and this is the quote-unquote that I'm putting out here, normal is whenever you see it day to day. Whenever something becomes normalized, it becomes normal. I mean, I think your definition of normal is just slightly different than what you even would say is the definition of normal.
Are you done talking? When you talk about somebody who comes and punches you every time in your face. The first time it's not normal, and then you said since you get used to it, it becomes normal to you. It becomes normal to you. Doesn't become, in that sense, in the way you presented it, it doesn't make it objectively normal. That is a abnormal behavior. That is behavior indicative of a mental illness. It's not normal because you'd have to compare him to what everybody else does, and he would be an outlier. So the way you defined it and the way you put it in a small little box was so misleading.
To you.
Okay. So you're correct in one part of that. That would become just normal to me. But just like gay people, it's not just in one house. It's in many houses. Being gay is becoming normal.
Preach it.
So if it's becoming and it's being normalized, there's no way you can say it's not normal because it's not just normal to me. It's normal to everybody in the United States because it's becoming normal.
It's still dysfunctional regardless. I give you my definition. It's still dysfunctional even if
but now I'm going to use the same thing that you used on me and say, I don't care about your definition. We're going with the definition of normal.
No, I told you. You asked me in the very beginning, what do you think about normal? I told you that if you're dysfunctional, you are not normal from the absolute get-go. If everybody became a homosexual, then humanity would not exist. It would die. And end of story.
But dysfunctional doesn't mean normal.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. Dysfunctional doesn't mean normal, but it doesn't also mean anything else. Dysfunctional has nothing to do with normal.
You asked me what my definition of normal is, and you got my definition.
And then you said the definition. I said what's your definition? And you said the. But your definition is wrong.
You're lying. I said the definition for pedophilia, not normal.
Okay, so if you can use the definition for pedophilia, I can use the definition for normal, correct?
Yo, do you notice how every time I have an argument with you guys just like to play a word game and you don't want to actually interact with the actual discussion?
Okay, so hold on. Normal is confirming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected.
I already gave you my definition.
Okay. That's completely fine that you gave me your definition. But you can't sit here and be a hypocrite and say that I can't have my own definition, but there's only the definition, right? So if there's only the definition of something, then we're going to go off the definition of normal, just like we went off the definition of pedophilia, right? Does that not sound correct to you? If we're going to go off your the statement, then the definition of normal is what I just said.
All right. So, number one, you're going to need to calm down a little bit, and number two, you're going to need me to talk because you constantly keep talking. This is the same tactic Shy Doomer used. Be quiet for a second. When I referred to the definition of pedophilia, it's the definition because that's the definition used in medical textbooks, and that's the definition that's adopted by consensus. That's what I mean by the definition of pedophilia. When we're having a debate and there's a specific framework, and you specifically asked me what's my definition of normal, that implied initially that it's subjective because it's exclusive to me because you asked my. And then when you asked me what's my definition of pedophilia, I told you there is no my in that answer, and there's a the in that answer. It's not mine. But for the normal, I didn't negate mine. I let you say that, and I answered. So you're actually just embarrassing yourself, and we can stop playing word games, and we can actually talk about the topic.
Okay, so we can talk about the topic whenever you understand that if you're going to make it the statement, as in, like, there is only a definition for it, not anything else, then would you agree with what I put in the side chat on the definition of what normal is? Would you agree with this?
You asked for my definition of normal, so it's irrelevant.
Okay, does your quote-unquote definition of normal match what I just put in the side chat?
Irrelevant.
Well, if you answer, then we can maybe move forward.
No, you know what my definition of normal is. Stop this stupid game and let's continue the conversation.
All right. Well, then what else do you have to offer to how you would explain that it's not normal?
Because it's dysfunctional.
What the fuck does dysfunctional have to do with normal?
If you're dysfunctional, you don't function properly.
But that has nothing to do with whether something is normalized.
You asked for my definition of normal, and I gave it to you. Why are you upset?
Because that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
All right, stay mad about it. Can we continue talking now?
I don't know how we can continue talking about something if you're confused on what the definition of normal is. Because for me to debate whether something is normal,
stop talking? Can you stop
and you don't even have the definition of what normal actually is.
Can you stop talking? Number one, you asked me what my definition of normal is. I told you being normal. Okay, if I need to say it to you this way, being normal equals being functional because normal people are functional. If you're dysfunctional, you are not normal because normal people are functional. That's the definition of normal. It's used in a medical sense. What I'm saying when you're abnormal is you're mentally ill. That's the definition. If everybody happened to be a homo, that would mean everybody is a homo. Would that mean that it's still not dysfunctional? Of course not. If I go to America, and I can't believe I have to say this again. Actually, I'll give you a better example. Have you ever gone to one of those pharmaceutical places and there's their blood measurement that you put your little bicep in? You just put it in there, and then it squeezes your bicep, and it tells you what your blood level is. There's usually optimal, and then there's average, and then there's worse and even worse. So optimal is what you're supposed to be. It's the norm. It's what you're supposed to be. Normal is what I mean in that sense. And optimal and normal are interchangeably in that sense because that's how it's used even in a medical pharmaceutical sense. When you get average, that means you're not optimal, and that's not normal, and there happen to be in humanity maybe bad diets, and that's why that is the use quote-unquote standard, even though it's not a standard, it's the new average. That's a better way of using it. Average and normal are different words. When you ask me what my definition of normal is, I gave it. And even if we were to hypothetically say that my definition of normal is wrong, that doesn't matter because it's mine. And it's not, and I just explained to you how it isn't. So can you shut up and continue with the conversation and stop getting so mad and using the F word and using insults and saying that's the dumbest thing I ever heard? Can we move on with the conversation?
Okay, so I want you to wrap this one around your head, okay? If the conversation
Yo, honest to God, if you do not want to continue with the conversation, adios, amigo. We're gonna continue with the conversation or we're not, because this is a waste of time.
Okay, so let me explain how
I already gave you my definition of normal and what normal means. That is the definition. End of story. Okay? We can move on from here. Stop this word. You're afraid of what I have to say after this because you're not going to know how to defend homosexuality. So can you be quiet and can we continue with the conversation? For the love of God, or I'm a bounce, brother. I'm out.
What you just said was a contradiction. You can't say be silent and then continue with conversation.
Okay, smart out. Oh, you got me. We're not doing
this. Well, I tried to respond to you. You did that.
Oh, you're so smart. Oh, I told you to be quiet. How can you talk? You know exactly what I mean. Stop this smart ass garbage.
Okay, so let me explain it without you interrupting.
Do you want to continue?
Maybe just let him respond and then the conversation
because
continue.
He's been doing the same thing. He's been doing the same thing a million times. So do you want to continue with the conversation? Yes or no? If not, I'm bouncing.
I would. I'm trying to respond to you.
So continue with the conversation, or I have no issue leaving because I'm almost been here for 2 hours and you're absolutely being pathetic. So do you want to continue? Yes or no?
I would like to continue.
So continue without mentioning word games and acting like a smart ass, and let's talk about the actual debate.
So the problem I'm having with what you're saying about me just moving on from the conversation of the definition of normal is the whole conversation that we're having and debate that we're having is on if something is normal. So if we cannot agree what the definition of normal is, how the fuck can we even move on to the actual conversation? Because if we don't agree with
the millionth time, I don't care if you agree or disagree. You've asked for my definition. If you have a problem with my definition, and let's have two scenarios. It's dysfunctional. That's what I think is abnormal because I explained it a million times. I'm not going to do it again. And it's not contradictory whatsoever. If I explain to you that this is what abnormal is, this is what it means to be dysfunctional. If that is the framework we're operating on, then let's continue the debate in that direction. If it's not, then if you agree that homosexuality is dysfunctional, do you agree? Yes or no? That's going to be the debate. Is it dysfunctional or not? If you don't agree, all right, I'm going to go. Then because I mean, if you don't agree, we can continue the debate. If you continue and don't play word games, but if you agree, then we already met a conclusion, and I can go because I'm not trying to waste my time.
So the problem that I'm having is that I agree.
Can we continue?
I'm trying. If you'll shut the fuck up.
Can we continue or not?
If you'll shut the fuck up. Can you shut the fuck up long enough?
It seems like the whole conversation's been can we continue or not for the last 10 minutes. So how about we just kind of continue?
Exactly. That's what I'm telling you.
So I agree with you.
Yeah, but I'm not helping either.
The conversation here isn't whether it's dysfunctional. It's whether it's normal.
All right. You agree that homosexuality is dysfunctional? You have a good day, my friend. You have a good day. That's my definition. That's my definition of normal. You agreed that's abnormal.
But that's not the definition of normal.
I don't care. That's my definition.
So you're saying normal is the optimal, right? Is that what you're saying, Hum?
Not necessarily, but sometimes is interchangeably a little bit.
Well, sometimes there is it because it can't really be here or there sometimes.
I mean, no. If you want me to be honest, no. If you want me to be if you want me to be super strict, no. Optimal cannot always. Yeah, so no. Because optimal could sometimes be like if you're optimal at something, right? Say sometimes that could be understood as being above average, right? Or above the norm, if that makes sense. The word game you're doing with normal, this is a conversation about what does normal mean. That's not the title. The title is homosexuality.
Well, I'm not doing a word game.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you, buddy.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Talk to the other guy. If that's what you've agreed it's dysfunctional, then adios. I'm good. You can bounce. We can get somebody else in because I'm the one saying that it's not. So we can continue. So you can leave now or something. If you don't have it. Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
Well, who else wants to go up here? Because I know you probably can't invite people up here, so I can help you out with that. Who did you want to talk to?
Seems like Silent wanted to come up here, so I could probably invite them up.
No, I don't want Silent. I don't want Silent. Sorry, I don't want him. No. He's being very weird. Him and this guy named Diddy have been making weird homosexual comments, saying they want to suck me or
Take
something.
your pick.
Yeah. What is this new vote? I'm asking Pepper, by the way. Should him be forcibly tagged out? What does that mean? Could somebody tell me what that means?
So did you have someone you wanted to speak to next, or did you want to?
Someone's asking, can I do silent for entertainment purposes?
Yeah, I'm not really concerned with any of that stuff. I'm more concerned with, do you want someone else on stage, or?
Yeah, I do. Wait, hold on. I'm making
so who is it?
Can you give me a minute? Is that fine?
Yeah.
Alright, yo, real. Tell me in the chat who I should pick out. You're still there. I don't know if Real's still there. He is typing, okay.
Got a good debate going on, folks. Got a good debate.
I'll actually take your word. If you tell me, I'll leave. Okay, I'm out. Alright, you guys can have someone else. Thanks, CMFP. Thank you very much, by the way. You're a good moderator.
Have a good one, bud.
Yeah, have a good one.
And it is over.
That's not the definition I've been using, but as far as it not being normative, I think that's just like an objective fact, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
I think it is conforming to a standard or usual, typical, or expected. I expect to see a gay person whenever I go out. Like if you go to you live in Florida. If you go out, do you expect that there's probably gay people around you?
Yeah, in a colloquial sense, I would agree that it's not, abnormal. Like I wouldn't be shocked to see someone, but let me see. It seems like Silent was asking for a while here. Let me go ahead and just come first.
Finally.
All right, there you go.
The king is here. I'll take that crown now.
Coming for your crown, boss,
but you agreed for me.
Homosexuality is not normal. Me, as a conservative Christian, I do not believe that.
Really? Because as a Christian, the Bible literally tells you that all this will be normalized, and that's all that'll be left.
No, it is a hateful sin and should be looked down upon.
Okay, so wait. I would agree.
Oh, wait. It's a good sin. It's a good sin. My fault.
What?
A good sin.
What do you mean by it's a good sin? What does that mean?
So there's bad sins and there's good sins.
Okay, tell me what a good sin is. What's the definition of a good sin in the Bible? Give me an example.
So a good sin. Let me just get my sources up here and. So it is doing the morally wrong for good reasons. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, so your definition may make sense, but how does that fit being gay?
So being gay.
Let this person go. Let this person go.
Being gay is gay.
Let this person go.
No, I'm not. I'm being 100% real.
Okay, so your statement is being gay is gay. Cool. What else you got?
So what is your definition of normal?
Normal? Definition of normal is conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with the definition of normal?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so what do you think the definition of normal is?
I think normal is if it's optimal to society and for its necessary gains.
Okay, so can you give me a example or a source that agrees with your definition?
Perfect. Give me some moments real quick.
doing enough whenever it comes to biblical. I'm a Christian. I also agree. I would rather people not sin and be gay. But regarding whether it's normal or not, by my definition of normal, it is normal. If you go out in America, especially if you live in America, if you live outside of America, I don't know what to tell you, but in America, it's normal. Like, you go out and you see it all the time. It is something that is expected to see. In the Bible, it also tells you that all this will end up happening. Like, all the abominations or sins will come out. Like, it will become normalized for people to do such of these things. Before Jesus comes back, that is what will happen. So if you argue from a biblical standpoint, then your argument gets destroyed with the Bible.
So you think because something is normalized, that means it's inherently good and should be looked upon?
How is anything that I have said, like, from this?
You said throughout, time passes, if it becomes more accepted, then that means it is good for you, right?
No,
like in the Bible?
Not. No, it says in the Bible that it will become normal. Evil will become normal. Sin will become normal. Being homosexual is a sin. So it fits in the category of being normalized before Christ comes back.
Do you agree that being gay is gay?
Okay, I'm done with the troll, bro. I'm done with the troll. I don't like this. Why are you trolling? Alright. Anybody else want to take me on this before I head out? Anybody? Pepper, do you want to take me on this? Alright. So you think that homosexuality is not normal, correct?
Well, in what sense do you mean normal?
My definition of normal is conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected. Is being homosexual conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected?
I would say no. It's very statistically infrequent.
Okay, where do you live?
England.
England. Okay. By chance, do you know the percent of gay people in England?
I think it's somewhere like 1%. I have the census on my laptop, but not on my laptop.
Alright. So I actually would agree with you to your specific location, like where you live, your country. I would say that it's probably not normal.
Do you think it's higher in America?
1.5%. It's way lower than America. In America, it is definitely normal. In your country, I would actually agree with you. It's not normal in your country.
All right. What do you think the statistics are in America?
In America, it's like 7%.
So your boundary for normality lies, what would you say, above 5%?
I think anything above like 5% of the whole United States is, that's a large fucking number. It's a large number.
I mean, you could assume that something of low probability could still be seen as normal. As with schizophrenia being 1% prevalent, it's still probably seen as normal. But on a temporal scale, if you look beyond a current generation, homosexuality cannot realistically be a normal, can it? For, as that angry little kid said before, reproductive purposes.
So I actually agree to an extent of whether it should be something normal. I don't think that it should be. I'm a Christian. I don't think that it should be normalized. But I do think
saying something is being normalized inherently suggests that it isn't normal as of current.
No, So something being normalized means past tense. Like if it's already being normalized, then it's already normal.
I think being normalized is more of a process, isn't it?
Well, whenever you add ed to the end of it, it usually means it already happened.
Not necessarily. If I'm saying being normalized, it would be as of current.
That would be correct, but in the sentence that I said, that would be past tense, because being normalizing something would be current.
Mm-hmm.
But I specifically mentioned how it had been normalized, which would infer that it is normal now.
Yeah, I can see that.
By the way, 7% of the United States is around, I want to say, 24 million, 22 million, around there.
I think the population of America is close to 300 million, isn't it?
It's 342 million.
342.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty big percentage. I'll give you an example.
That would be, what was it? That would be 22.4%. I think 22.2%. 22.2 million people. Around about.
You said how many?
If it's 340 million, that's 22.2.
Okay, so check this out. I live in the state of Kentucky. Pretty big state. There's only 4.5 million people in my whole entire state. That means that if we took all the gay people, we could just move everybody out of Kentucky and just fill them in with gay people, and everybody here could just live as gay people. And the country in the state beside us, and the state beside us, and the state beside us would all just be gay. That is frequent. That is something that is definitely normalized. If I can take a whole state and 4 others and just put just gay people in it, then it's definitely something that is already normalized. It's frequent.
When you say gay,
because you're spreading these people out.
You're limiting it to purely homosexual.
Yeah, purely homosexual.
Because I do find there's quite a lot of people that identify with bisexual or transsexual, but
so that's
more of a
separate.
social thing. Yeah,
that's definitely separate. This homosexuality would be same sex.
Yeah. I know.
So would you now agree with me in America? Like I would agree with you in your country that it's not normalized, but in America where I live, would you say that it is normalized?
For one perspective, I can certainly see what you're on about. I do see what that other little kid was talking about, though, in regards to it not being a functional thing, and functional things being the definitive.
Well, I would agree with him that it's not something that we want to be normalized. It's not something that is necessarily good for the existence of our people. But that's not what the debate is about. If the debate said, is homosexuality good for
I think that's
the
what
world, I would say no.
Yeah, I think that's what he intended to be.
But if that was the case, I mean, they should have renamed the whole debate. I mean,
of course, poor wording on his part.
Because is homosexuality normal is a pretty big statement. I mean, that's very specific. There's no really dodging around the question.
It's talked about, and everyone knows about. So I'd say under that means yes, probably.
How I explained to CMFP is he lives in Florida. Florida is definitely a state where it's very divided. Part of them, part of them are extremely redneck, and the other half are extremely liberal, and they collide a lot. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens in Florida because of the separation of culture there. So what I tend to look at is like he lives in Florida. So if he goes out into public, like if he goes out, like let's say to the store, is it expected that there's probably gay people around him? Yeah. So if it's expected, that fits the narrative of normal. I would expect whenever I go out that there's probably a gay person somewhere. So if it's expected, then it's normal.
Yeah, I get that. Makes sense.
Alright, so it seems like we somewhat agree. I agreed with you on your country, but whenever it comes to my country...
I mean, even in my country, it's still a thing that is talked about. So in that sense, it is still normal.
I would
Even within
argue that
school.
it isn't usual or typical. It may be, and I would also argue in your country that it's probably not even expected. If you walk out of your house to go to a store, it's probably not expected.
Certainly lots of them. You can see people walking about with fucking coloured hair and
Really?
shit. Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess your country is normal then. It is normal to be homosexual in most countries now. In most advanced countries.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I also don't like it. I mean, I think that you should be allowed to do what you want to do,
it.
but as a Christian, I still believe that it's a sin. I still believe that.
I wouldn't say I don't like it. I'd say it's just more unfortunate on their part.
No, I would definitely say that that it's something that you can't help that you like, but it's something that you don't have to act upon.
Yeah, much like pedophilia.
Actually, exactly like pedophilia.
I mean, I would certainly argue one's not as bad.
I mean, yes, nobody said that they're similar, and if anybody in there here thinks that we was comparing the two, they're being disingenuous. But what I was saying is like you can't change the way what you like. You can't, but you can change your actions on what you like, on what you do because of that.
Wait, Clip, can I just quickly go over something? Holy Penguin, your point doesn't really stand if animals are sometimes gay. Animals also suffer from other mental disorders. That isn't really a point.
Yeah, also, outliers don't prove anything, by the way, too.
Yeah, many cats, dogs, is put simply, they suffer from depression and anxiety, unlike the other mental disorders.
There's also animals that tend to not. How do I put it? There is animals that crossbreed, but we would not say that that is normal because it's an outlier.
We would say it was normal because, in a sense, it doesn't form a functional baby, does it? You know, if they're a separate species and it's not reproductively viable.
Well, but it's not normal even based on the standard.
Well, yeah, the reason it's not normal. They're separate species
due
to being in separate environments.
And by the way, whenever I say crossbreeding, I'm not referring to breed of dog. I'm referring to like dog and cat,
Dogs are of the same
ape
species.
and raccoon, whatever. Like it's not normal for that to happen. It does happen, but it's an outlier.
Oh, I think the reason it's not normal and it's not likely to happen is because they're in different places. That's why they're separate species, different environmental factors.
Most of it actually, like what you'll see, it's more common with cats. So a cat will go in heat and like it'll find anything and everything to try to mate. Like like a cat will walk up to a dog, get right behind it, and try. Cats, whenever they go in heat, is like really really bad, and they're it's more common with them, but it's not normal. It's just more common. It's still an outlier. It doesn't normally happen. Anybody else want to come up here? And by the way, if anybody disagrees with Pepper, you're more than welcome to come up here and argue with him, and I can moderate it. Ghost, anybody here want to argue with Pepper? Pepper, do you want to
pop up Nick? Nick has been patiently waiting. I'm curious.
All right, I'll pull up Nick.
Finally. Okay, so I want to start off this with like a clear interpretation of how we see this. So in the chat, I pasted off a document that I will be reading off of to provide a way that I see that the debate should go in a way that structurally formats it, in which we're able to get this out of the way and knock it out completely and understand it. Are you ready?
You could speak a little bit slower.
Sorry. I would love if we could set a clear interpretation of the way that we see normal, and then we can just get the debate off of our hands.
Sure.
Okay, so interpretation. Normal should mean fake. It's in cross applicable. That's net bad. According to Brish, 1995, discussion focused on the world about normal. Normal means whenever the state is allowed. The reinterpretation that we should see is normal as anything that occurs in nature. Nature would mean all. Nature is all plants and animals, not made by animals, not made by people, and events and processing not caused by people. the violations in which we see should be applicable to the idea. The idea of normal relies on false pretenses that makes an inherent case bad, easy for them to win without a clear internal link, not allowing me to win. They tiptoe through a simple advocacy and solvency in which they create ideas without a clear alternative. The idea that breaks ground for everybody but unequal already could be fixed in the idea of locking in. This destroys limits on what we can and can't debate about. Prefer all in nature as a pretense. It's better by destroying limits for everybody, not just you. In that way, we're able to stop abusive ideas. The alternative should be fag ecology, a theoretical framework that embraces multiplications of differences, that recognizes ugly and disjointed affirmative matches at sight of life and blurs the boundaries of human nature, procedures allowed to embrace the strange connection to forms of connections with nature, and rejecting aesthetic discourses. Epistemology is net good. The violence will be inevitable. Co-opting right wing and abandoning the fag community is immediate to social violence that normalizes forms of violence. Additionally, I will be using comformality. It's the idea in an argument that we should say, oh, hi guys.
You're speaking a little fast, and clearly I've lost you.
And also a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is you get really used to reading fast because people can go up to 300 words per minute. Like, quite literally, we would read it like this pace. Y'all want to see how we would read it?
Hold on. Can I
funny.
say something from
yeah, completely.
perspective, please? I would highly suggest you just make your claim, and then whenever it comes to it, read it. Because I still, from as much as you read and as fast as you read, still don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All I got was
Did you guys go on the document? I sent it in chat again. Yeah, that's.
I'm reading it, but that's kind of the issue. Whenever you do this in a debate where like you pull it up and you're just reading this big long thing, it becomes less of a debate and more of a like a study lesson.
Oh, okay, I got what you're saying.
So
okay, so you want this to be a little more.
It's more of a back and forth would be normalized. It's better for the audience. It's better for you guys in communication skills. It's also better for you to explain the point instead of reading it.
Okay, so the idea of normal should be based off of stuff that happens in nature, because currently right now, if we can't even decide if homosexual actions are normal in humans, we should base our pretenses off nature within itself. So the alternative that we should provide inside of this debate structure, in which that I'm trying to apply, is queer or bigotry anthropology, the idea that we should focus on nature and the ideas that nature presents instead of anything else. And that should be the key cornerstone of the idea of normal.
So you would, under that, suggest that all mental illnesses are, in fact, normal if they present themselves in more than one species?
How do you define mental illness?
Sure. I don't know the definition that the DSM-5 goes upon, but put simply, referring to stuff like depression and anxiety.
Okay, so take anxiety and depression. Those two have negative impacts on people's mental health and well-being singularly, which means that homosexuality isn't a construct
I'm not saying like being gay is one. I'm just asking if you would suggest that fits upon your definition of natural.
No. But mental illnesses are naturally occurring.
It is naturally occurring.
As I said, mental illnesses are naturally occurring, but that doesn't mean that homosexuality is considered a mental illness.
I never said that. I just asked you if a mental illness would fall under your definition of normal.
Yeah. I guess if it occurs under nature within all things besides humans, it is considered normal in the way that we see the world.
Okay. That's all I was trying to discern.
Okay. Are you gonna say something?
Are you guys done?
No, I don't think we're done. I think. Okay, so
I mean, if he's done, I'll take a jab at it.
No. I don't think I'm done. I don't think I'm done. The way that we see queerness within itself occurs in nature multiple times. Normally shouldn't be interpreted as bad or good. It's just something that we expect to have in nature and have seen happen before in nature. Meaning that if we see homosexuality reoccurring in nature, it's easily able, and it creates a chain in which we're able to prove that homosexuality is considered normal. Meaning that through the chain, if we see it occurring in nature, homosexuality is normal. Through that, we can point at different animals that commit homosexuality, such as flamingos, other animals. And also, it's a cognitive ability, meaning that, like, it's something that you're born with, not developed.
Cognitive ability. For them, maybe, but when it regards to humans, you're assuming that the ways in which we do homosexuality,
okay, again,
are equivalent.
Just to remind you, you didn't provide an alternative in the way that we should see this. So we're basing this off the idea of ecosystems, anything other than humans that occurs in nature.
Oh no, if you're saying something is naturally, I can agree to that sort of definition.
Okay, yeah, so it's occurring in nature. And since we are considered animals, therefore it should be considered natural for humans to have that. Hi.
Would you allow me to finish?
Sorry.
I was just asking, wouldn't you be making the assumption that homosexuality in humans is equivalent to homosexuality in other species? Because their purposes and functions may be different.
So the reason...
It could be normal for them and then not normal for us because they don't serve the same purpose.
So the reason why I see and bring that up is because animals would be a perfect example, because if you take certain animals that limit those ideas, if we personally, like me, you, humans, human society, still can't decide if something is normal or not, we should look at the second closest thing, which is ecosystems, animals, living organisms that are other than us. Because they are the ideas and the biases that point out their factors in life in which we can observe, see vividly.
Isn't that a plea to ignorance, though, which in itself is meaningless?
So you believe that ignorance is...
No, but you're saying this should be in placement because we are ignorant of the fact.
Yes, we are ignorant to our... Like, we literally can't decide. In what ways does it not seem reasonable? So you could just... Okay. We're looking at animals because they're the second best thing.
Advantage, then that would be a means to decide normal.
What do you mean evolution?
Which is more expanding upon your point, saying it occurs in other animals. If it serves an evolutionary purpose, wouldn't that be a more objective way to go about defining normality?
So, okay, in what ways are you getting at? Are you saying that some animals reproduce?
The majority of behaviors, the reason they occur in animals, and also us, is because they serve an evolutionary purpose.
Okay, so you think that reproduction is good because of evolution, which rules
No.
homosexuality?
I think life is more of a system, and it's perpetuated by things that benefit reproduction. So reproduction is really
reproduction is at the center of all cost.
All evolution, obviously.
Okay, so reproduction normalizes pedophilia, certain fetishes that attract for the whole idea of reproducing and having sex over and over and over and over again to keep the population clean. That idea normalizes rape, that idea normalizes anti-abortion activities, which is creating unstatured and ideas that we use to normalize violence. So, okay, in what ways do you disagree with it? Because you're stating that at the key
is generally of individuals who are prepubescent. And I don't think you're going to get a prepubescent child pregnant. Rape is evolutionary unadvantageous because it's perpetuating inferior genes. So that wouldn't fall under the guise of evolutionary advantageous.
Yeah, but it's literally necessary according to your interpretation to reproduce.
No, I said if it benefits evolution, then more reproduction, which in rape wouldn't do that, because...
How does rape not benefit reproduction?
Because it's of inferior genes. Someone who wasn't a viable mate is therefore mating and producing unviable mates themselves, so it doesn't really benefit evolution.
So do you believe that homosexuality and pedophilia get passed down and stuff like that?
No, I think quite a lot of them are... Well, psychological conditions are more of a response to the environment.
Okay, so pathological. Okay, so you're saying that the way that
obviously you can pass down. Fucking hell, I forgot the word. You can pass down predispositions.
predisposition. Oh, so you mean like, okay, yeah, the environmental factor which creates normalization.
No. More
but wouldn't that
to a certain response environment.
But yeah, but wouldn't that still continuously end in like rape and like continuous ideologies? Because the idea of reproduction being the only idea that we should eliminate for evolution creates infinite amounts of rape, violence, normalization of unconsensual activities. Okay, so in what ways does that not violate it? Because from your standpoint, I'm offering you an interpretation of the way that I see evolution and your claims, so therefore you must provide not only a way to defend it, but refute my claim.
Yeah. So evolution in itself occurs because advantageous traits end in an increased likelihood to reproduce, and so that increases in a gene pool. In regards to rape, it is not advantageous because an individual wouldn't need to rape generally if they had advantageous genes, because they would be seen as a viable mate and would be consensually reproduced with. So if you resort to rape, it is because you are not a viable mate. So passing on your own genes isn't beneficial. But if you were to rape someone and pass on your genes through that means, then it would increase the likelihood of your offspring being rapists themselves, because everything is a genetic predisposition at heart.
So, in what ways does reproduction occur?
What do you mean? What?
Like, in what ways do you see reproduction occurring?
I don't really understand the question.
In what ways, in your interpretation, in the world that you build up, how do you see reproduction occurring in animals?
Generally, animals who are the most dominant and, generally the most fit are the males that reproduce. So the most advantageous males reproduce with the women.
So, limitations. Okay. Wait, I forgot the word. I literally just passed my biology test. How did I forget this already?
I've been refitted for my biology test, and all the words are going out my head.
Yeah, me too. It's like limiting. No, it's like when animals don't reproduce with other animals because they're different.
Speciation.
Let's just say that, I guess. In what ways does it? We're low-key getting sidetracked. I forgot what I was talking about. Okay.
Normally, because of
evolution and nature. Okay, so the way that we see evolution within itself, as you stated, was built on the idea of reproduction to create better genes and to recreate better animals that will eventually live on, essentially through natural selection. So if an animal is more dominant than another animal and it decides to have unconsensual, I don't even know if there's consensuality inside.
No. The thing is, just because rape occurs doesn't mean it's automatically beneficial.
So now we're getting into an epistemological framework. So,
I don't understand what that word means.
Epistemological is a moral framework. So you just stated that rape is bad. That's a good consensus that we agree on. Rape within itself is bad.
Objectively bad, yes.
Objectively, like on paper, off paper, in action. In what ways do you see that?
Objectively, because it perpetuates inferior genes, which is counterintuitive to evolution.
And how does it perpetuate an inferior gene if an animal
I've already said. It's because if someone has to resort to rape, it's because they are inferior genetically. Because consent is naturally given to the most fit male in almost all species. Right, the strongest walrus, strongest lion, strongest gorilla, always the ones to mate.
Okay.
Because it's advantageous to the species, it's consensual.
In what ways do you define advantageous? Because I don't know what that word is. It's pretty big.
Advantageous. It's just advantageous. It's a trait that increases the likelihood of an animal to survive and reproduce.
Okay, so let's cross-apply this to the way that we see humanity.
I don't know what that would mean.
Cross-apply means like this is the whole purpose of why I decided, hey, let's set up normal as what we see in nature so we can, after like defining our normalities, cross-apply that. Cross-apply means like comparing humans to the framework that we previously established.
Cross-apply.
Right. Let's say some girl is a lesbian. So now we're actually talking about like humanity within itself. So now we're talking about, let's say, lesbians. Let's say a lesbian girl sees a strong man, and in your interpretation of evolution, that strong man should be allowed to rape the girl because he is strong, therefore more eventually attractive, and which the girl reproduces.
It was rape. I'm saying in a natural perspective.
In a natural perspective.
Would be given to the stronger male during a reproductive season. It's nothing to do
and
with rape.
Let's say
it doesn't occur like that.
Okay, so is there ever homosexuality in nature? Do you think that exists?
I've heard of it, yes.
So let's say there's a homosexual.
Yes.
Let's say there's a homosexual make up an animal. Let's say that there's a lesbian Pegasus that gets raped by a big, strong Pegasus. I don't know. My biology final was basically making up an animal in which we found an environment and we adapted it to that environment. We chose like a Pegasus because we were bored. I got a 99 on that. It was so easy, oh my lord. And that animal, because it's stronger under your framework, should be allowed to rape the animal no matter their sexual orientation.
Many times it wouldn't be rape. In nature, it would be consensual.
Okay, so what do you find rape as? Unconsensual sex?
Rape is only really considered applicable to humans. When it's referring to animals, they tend to use the term forced copulation. It's difficult to define because you can't exactly experience life through the lens of a female gorilla. So it's difficult to tell where it's considered rape or not, considerably. The only one that you can really apply that term to is human.
So you don't believe that rape would occur in nature because they would both be attractive?
I believe it does. I'm just saying it's difficult to really determine whether that does occur at a high frequency.
This big, tough, like, animal that should pass its genes on. That means that if that animal was to have sex with another animal, no matter of that animal, it would still be considered not rape because of the idea of evolution and beneficiary towards reproduction.
I'm not saying that's the reason why it's not rape. I'm just saying that the individual who is mating with said male would agree to it naturally because it's beneficial. It's just a logical argument.
All right, folks, that was the debate on is homosexuality normal. That was pretty fiery. Towards the end here, it started just to drift off and derail into other things, which is far away from the topic. You're talking about other stuff. So that'll be it for the Discord. Yeah, basically this debate wasn't even going to happen. All these people showed up, and the moderator was a no-show. So I had to request one myself, and I'm not even in the debate. Then the moderator is in one stage. I tell him the people's in the other stage. Then he goes to the other stage, and then the other people, I tell them to go to the other stage, and then the moderator comes to the other stage. Like it was just, it just wasn't set up right at all. But this has been brought to you by Discord, by yours truly.